Hello and welcome. We're going to do a walkthrough of the quad program free at mcstutoring.com. So I'll put a link in the description. So you're going to go to program quad. You're going to actually press this key first, by the way, program. And you may have a sub menu to go to either TI Basic or Python. It's a TI Basic program. So let's do the classic 156. And what this means is we've got a 1x squared 5x plus 6. So basically 1x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. And then here's the cool thing. You get the x1 and the x2, -2, -3. Nothing fancy there. A lot of quad programs do that. But then this is what's neat. It's -5 plus or minus 1 over 2. That's a solution in the discriminant form, right? That -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So that's just a fancy thing. And again, the program's free at mcstutoring.com. Let's do a slightly more complicated version where we just have x squared, 0 for the x. So it's going to be x squared minus 12 equals 0. So I'm putting c as the negative. Make sure you press this key, the negative, to the left of the enter key. So then, okay, again, x1 and x2, nothing fancy. You could do this with your calculator by itself. But this is what's great. It shows it's plus or minus 2 rad 3. It de-radicalizes it for you, just like all these Western countries are trying to do, de-radicalize. So we're going to do the same thing for the discriminant here. We're going to de-radicalize the answer. So you're going to have it. It's cool. And then you might think, okay, what if I get a little more complicated? What if I did x squared plus 0x plus 12? And we get an imaginary solution. I got you covered. So we got x1 and x2, the decimal form of the imaginary or the complex solution. We got 0 plus or minus, that's what this stands for, the plus or minus in row here in this particular program, 2i rad 3. So that's really helpful. And again, you might think to yourself, well, if we have imaginary roots, my teacher only considers real roots. So you would say there's no real roots, only 2 imaginary roots, because that's going to have a negative discriminant. And some teachers in some classes might not allow a negative under the radical to be solved. So let's go to a slightly more complicated version where we have 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 equals 0. And then it shows x1 and x2, -1, -1.5. And it's cool because it simplifies the fraction for you here, -5 plus or minus 1 over 4. So that's good. Let's go again. I'm trying to think of any interesting examples where it might be more complicated. So let's do 5x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. So if we do that, we get the x1 and x2. And again, the simplified fractional form, 1 plus or minus 4 all over 5. And that'll give you this x1 and x2 value. Now, let's rerun it. And let's do a way more complicated version, -32. So this would be -32x squared plus 1x plus 4 equals 0. And look at this, x1 and x2, it's great. And then we've got 1 plus or minus 3 rad 57 over 64. Man, this free program does the heavy lifting for you. Remember, it's quad at mcstutoring.com. Let me do one last one for you guys. So let's do, if we had 32x squared plus x plus 4 equals 0. And then look at this. I know there's someone out there who's saying, oh, I did this in my head and I realized it was -1 plus or minus I rad 511 over 64. Well, look, goody gumdrops for you. Don't get that program for free. But for us math mortals, you probably want to pick this up. Again, it's free and it shows as quad, Q-U-A-D, on your calculator. Okay, good luck in all your math endeavors, and I'll see you next time. Your source for TI84 calculator programs, mcstutoring.com.